Hello and welcome to episode 18. This is Fizz Free, and this one's called Making Things Better. It relates to host Clare, who's got a great story about a recent real-life experience where she's been getting into further education, and as part of her application process to university, one of the questions lent itself beautifully to the process of getting sober. She tells me, host Jane, about the whole process, and it turns into really quite a feel-good episode looking at all of those sobriety benefits. Thank you so much for listening today. Do enjoy. It's Fizz Free.
So, I'm starting out on a uni course. Would I be doing that if I hadn't have got sober? It's a completely different podcast, but that's where we are. And to get the qualifications to do the course, you obviously need your maths, your English, and it's a teaching course, and whatever qualification you are embarking on teaching, you have to have. Now, I did my English GCSE, which I did pass, in 1995. There you go, I'm showing my age. So they wanted me to have a certificate to prove that I'd got this qualification, and I hadn't got it. So you can do an equivalency test to do it, and I just thought, we went through rigmaroles of trying to find it on databases and things like that, and I just thought, I'm just going to do the equivalency test. Had not read a paper, had not done any revision. It's a Friday night. I'm even at the salon that I work at because I couldn't get home in time to do it. Am I painting the picture here, Jane?
Claire, is this something you had to do in a short time period, or is it a bit of coursework that you could take home and work on it? Like, what's the time frame?
So it's exam conditions. So you're online.
Oh.
Your
Friday night was rock.
I know, it was. So I did 2 parts of the course, 1 hour comprehension, 1 hour essay. And then the essay question was, and I quote, making things better. If you could or have done something to improve your life, what would or have you done that has improved it? What benefits did you gain, and how would you persuade others to do the same? So I was reading this question, and as you can imagine, Jane, I was like, are they for real?
That's mad. Maybe some people said about having kids or starting a new job, but for you were just thinking, boom, I kicked alcohol's bottom. I've got sobriety.
And then the people that are going to read it are at the university that I am applying to study at. So that's a consideration in itself, isn't it? Am I going to answer this question the way I want to answer it, which is obviously the biggest, yes, of course, like you say, getting married, having children, changing jobs, all of that. But in terms of what I have changed in my life that has improved it immeasurably, then there's only one subject that I could write about. And I was like, you've got to do it, Claire. It's written for you, and I'm going to be able to have enough material and enough for me to really articulate. And these podcasts and me just generally talking about sobriety has given me enough to really talk about it passionately.
Yeah, anytime you're talking about something authentic, then you're always going to be really enthusiastic about it. You're not faking it. You're not just trying to score points and think maybe they want 8 points in this paragraph and 5 points in that paragraph. You're thinking, this is something I really believe in, and that always makes it really genuine, and that should hopefully bring out all the very best of the things you're going to argue, which puts you in a great light, you'd like to think, for an examiner. I'm so excited that was your question.
I know, I was chuckling internally to myself. And also, what I was thinking, because I had got that little bit of doubt in my mind, which I'm angry at myself a little bit for having, because I'm thinking, are these people going to think that I was, an alcoholic and all the rest of it? And which I shouldn't think like that, because, well, I don't like alcoholic anyway. But do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
things that we've spoken about, the guilt, the shame, the is it my fault, that all of that, I was just like, no, clues in the title, making things better. That is such a positive thing. And I reread it and I thought, no, I've got to convey to that person that's going to be reading it how beneficial and hopefully proud I am of myself for doing that. And I shouldn't be hiding it, really. I should be shouting about it. So I was like, Claire, you are going to do it. So I did it, and I was really, really proud of what I wrote and how it was structured. And I just explained that obviously 3 years ago I decided to reduce or stop my intake of alcohol. And I'd explained that I'd always been a social drinker, corporate hospitality, meeting Nick. And then I thought a few years down the line, we had a beautiful baby girl and my husband and I were delighted. Our lives changed from socialising to a more habitual routine, which having a drink just didn't seem to fit as well in our new normal. But then I went on to talk about the fact that, mommy wine culture is a real thing.
Yeah.
And then obviously I met with Ruth and she looked amazing and she got all these plans and, I said, what's new with you? And she said how long she'd been sober. So I explained all of that. And then I decided I wouldn't say too much to too many people, that I would obviously just try and see if I could go without it. And the main area that I will talk about is that obviously slowly it became a new normal and I started forming new habits, just little things like a cup of tea before bed, making sure I had breakfast every morning. And for me now, the benefits of clarity of mind at all times, being able to drive at all times, being focused and consistent, and it's allowed me to grow and enjoy new things. And I think I just didn't focus too much on the hard bit, really, which is, the admitting that you've got a problem is difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the clue was in the title, making things better.
I tell you what, if you had a short time period to do that, how did you not end up writing pages and pages? Because as we know, the benefits like a scroll. There are so many layers and knock-on domino effects, and socially and financially and emotionally, and just how did you fit it all in that short period?
Let me tell you. So I was last on the call. So other people were doing science, maths, English, and this one lady who I've got to know, who's lovely, who was adjudicating it all. Nobody wants to be really doing a maths, science, or English equivalency test at 6:30 on a Friday night. So she's saying bye to all these people that I can kind of hear on this Teams call, and probably 5 out of, I don't know, there might be about 30, we're having a conversation about, oh my gosh, I'm going to open a bottle of wine now. I've poured myself a large G&T and all of this, which was hilarious because I was sat writing about not drinking. So I was the last one on the call. So she said, oh, you've only got a couple more minutes, Claire, which I was reading through because I did realise. Although I could have gone on and on and on. I'd done about 3 pages of A4.
And another thing.
Yeah. But then I've got to structure it, haven't I? So I've got to make it quite concise. Anyway, I managed to. And I thought, just hasten to add, I did that.
Yay! Oh, I was going to ask when you would find out how you did. But the thing is, Claire, I thought what was really interesting what you said about that is that you had to just take a moment to think, who's my audience going to be? And actually, this is real life and I'm applying for something important and people are going to find out something very personal about me. But, that shows life experience, doesn't it? That shows them a real situation and not just an event where, there was a customer complaint and you fixed it, job done. You're talking about something huge that has implications into all aspects of your life and your future life. And I think that's just such a massive thing to be able to use. But I can totally understand why just for a moment you would think, oh, but what might people think of me? Because that is a concern, isn't it? Not a concern, but it's a real thing to bear in mind, because it is so personal and we are so passionate about it. For sure, we've spoken before that the minute you tell someone any degree of detail, like I recently just had a health check at work, one of those free health checkups. And, they're doing the tick box exercise. Do you smoke? Do you exercise? Do you drink? And I said, no, I quit drinking. I'm something like 830 days alcohol free. And she stopped with the pen and paper and the tick box and she looked at me and she sort of stared at me like I was a curious alien. And there was this long pause. And I thought, oh, what have I done? I've broken the health expert. Because she wasn't a doctor, but she's medically trained as one of these, corporate health companies that go around offering blood checks, blood pressure checks in the workplace. But the way she paused for a minute, and I could see questions instantly forming in her mind. Well, if you know exactly how many alcohol-free days you've had, that's clearly important. You're counting them for a reason. What was your relationship like with it before? Were you drink dependent? I could see all of that forming in her mind in this brightly lit office environment where she had no right to ask me anything like that. But it just put that pause in the conversation, and then she did that classic thing of volunteering what she drinks, which I hadn't asked and was nothing to do with. Well, I don't even really like the taste of it, and I only have a glass here or there. And I thought I just thought it was really interesting, because there we were in a work setting, like you were saying, the fluorescent lights, and I'm in an office in my workplace, just going through like a health survey. But that question stopped the interview. That question ground us to a halt. The tick boxing stopped for a minute while that big piece of information sank in. Wait, you don't drink? You haven't drunk for that long? What's going on? And I just thought, it's still powerful, and you still do consider, how is this information going to be received? But again, like you and I have said, the longer time goes on, the more our sobriety lengthens, the more confident we become in it, and the less we doubt too much speaking up about it when it feels as though there's an opportunity or the time is right. Because you maybe don't go around ramming it down everyone's throats, but if you ask me about it, I'll honestly answer you. And it's just fascinating how it just has that sort of effect, isn't it?
If that was such a dumbfound kind of moment for her, maybe that is more important to her than she's saying. Because if it was every now and again that she's drinking, I don't know.
If I just said it's been 2 years, but because I said something like it's been 830 days, I think it was...
Maybe that was it.
Yeah, I think it was me saying that level of detail, which you don't ever get that answer to. I'm sure nobody has answered her with that, so it's probably me. But I just thought that was really funny, because again, that's in an environment where... you just think, oh, I wonder what this person's going to think if I tell them this situation that I'm really happy about.
Well, when she came, there's only the two of us left online, and then she said, "Is it all okay? Did you have enough time? I'm really sorry to rush you." And I was like, "No, it's fine." And she said, "Oh, what question did you answer?" And I told her, and she says, "Oh," and I said, "Well, actually, I stopped drinking 3 years ago." I said, "So this question was made for me." I said, "It's." She went, "What did you?" And obviously, she'd been a party to all this, and there's no judgment, but that she'd been a party to all this, oh yes, go and have a glass of wine and all of that. And then I would come, so it was in the forefront of her mind, we'd both been a party to those kind of conversations to an extent, where she certainly knew that I'd heard it. Not that I obviously, no judgment whatsoever.
Yeah, of course.
She was like, really? She was just really, really interested, and we stayed online another 10 minutes and spoke about it.
Oh, that's so interesting. That's so funny.
So lovely. And I'm sure she probably had a little read through, and she's more than welcome to, of course. But like you say, potentially that could be on my records and whatever, which is fine. But would I walk into a job interview and they ask me this question, would I answer it the same?
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the answer is yes, but I don't know. So it was a big consideration, really.
I think that was so bold of you, Claire, because you could easily have fudged any other example just to tick that box, but you chose to be really honest and vulnerable.
Wouldn't be good though, would it? Yeah. It would never be as good. And I just kind of ended it with, no, I never preach to other people. I believe people should be able to make their own choices. However, I do talk about how this has improved my life, and this year we started a podcast talking about all the positive things this change has had on me, and that's kind of how I ended it, because I'm really proud of our podcast as well, and I kind of wanted to get it in there really.
Yeah, because funny old thing, it's not just us. Most people who manage to overcome a tricky relationship with alcohol will invariably say that sobriety has given untold benefits and just such a new lease of clean and healthy life, and a great look to the future. It's, not a coincidence that that's the case, is it? I just love that you were able to be really honest about that. And do you know, occasionally, Claire, I think you might be a little bit the same. Occasionally it feels like the universe has given me this question. It's a sign. I'm on the right path. I'm being reassured by powers out there that I'm on the right path for me.
Well, that week, honestly, Jane, I'd had all this stress about where's this certificate and can't do this equivalency test. So it comes in like seasons. So they do it in September and then they do it in December. And if I'd have done it in December, this equivalency test, they wouldn't take me on the 4th. But I was like, I've already got my English. Like, you should have told me this, like, how long ago, that there isn't a magic database that doesn't hold all my qualifications, because I just assumed wrongly that I'm in the world of education. You would think that would happen, but no, obviously it doesn't. So I was a bit like, and then it was like, Nick and I never got to go out, and then we had to cancel all of that. So, and I'd been working 4 days, like, straight, and I'd worked at 8 o'clock the night before, I was working till 8 o'clock the day after. So the last thing I wanted to do, stay at work again until 9 o'clock at night on a Friday, and there I am in the middle of my room, in the salon, writing, and absolutely loving every minute of it. Oh my God, this has actually been fine. It's been absolutely fine.
This was meant to happen.
It was just all meant to be. So now it means that I haven't got that worry.
Yeah.
And I thought it just fit in quite nicely. The benefits that I kind of outlined in my kind of assignment really was organisation for sure. I can't go to bed now without all lunches being packed. Even like when I'm going to university, the laptop's in the car, there's this, that and the other. I just think I couldn't do, I mean, because of my dyslexia, and I'm going through this with my daughter as well now because she's dyslexic, I went through when I was younger, no organisation whatsoever, to then realising that organisation really helps your head clear, which is a big part of being dyslexic really, to then being OCD, which absolutely kind of went off the rails when I was drinking, which makes life so much harder, doesn't it? I don't know if you feel the same, Jane, but if you are not organised, it makes life hard, doesn't it? Waking up in the morning and maybe you wake up late, or there's been, something's happened, and then, the sandwiches aren't ready, and the this isn't done, and the that isn't done. Whereby, if something happens, maybe, people haven't slept well, or you've overslept, or whatever, if you organised the other end, you do at least think, I can get this back on track,
Because you've got that time back. You've gained about 1 to 2 hours of headspace and time and thinking clarity that previously would have been all blurred and slurry and groggy and sleepy. You've gained it back, and so you're able to think, right, I need to get that flask for tomorrow. She's had bread today, so I'll do a pasta tomorrow. You're able to think just about all of those things much easier because you've got those hours of thinking space back that you were robbed of before when
Totally.
alcohol was in the way. Absolutely, that's the case. I agree. And suddenly
Totally.
life is more manageable. Even when there's little disasters and hiccups, everything is more manageable because you are that more prepared, because you're thinking clearer and straighter. When you were saying about previously, I think about when these kids went to junior school, the amount of times we rolled up at the gate at 1 minute to 9, and that became a regular thing. And that stress level, you get used to living with that constant level of stress and worry and chaos really, and you assume that that's just because that's the way life is, but you don't want to admit that if you step back and remove alcohol, an awful lot of that chaos and whirlwind drops. It does drop away, not instantly and not completely, but it does drop.
And it's what you're doing, and I say this quite often, is you're getting through the day. It's like wading through mud, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yet, when you are sober and you have got that bit of time behind you, you start realising, it just leads me quite nicely onto my second point. I strategise a lot now. What do I want from my life? What is going to make me happy? I don't put it at the forefront all of the time because I have other people in my life, of course. But I do kind of, through different points throughout the day or week or month, whatever, I do look at that amount of time and go, I'm going to have some time free at that point. This is what I'm going to be wanting to do. Or, for me now, like going to uni, massive, could be life-changing. Who thought that I could be, and this is like, if I think about it too much now, I'll cry, but who thought at the age of potentially 47 I would be stood at Worcester Cathedral with a cap and gown? That's my aim.
Oh, I love that. I love that for you.
I look at like the future, you know, it might not happen. At least I can say that I've tried, even if I don't get there. If I am able to do it and I am able to teach, that will mean huge pay rise for me. It will mean that all of the summer holiday, all of the kids' holidays I'll be able to have off, which means now without juggling, okay, when are you going to be able to buy? Can you have this day as holiday? Can you have that? Nick won't need to have any holiday, so his holidays will be our holidays. That could be potentially 4 weeks a year, and all of this is we always say it, but the list of benefits of sobriety, I think they're never ending.
Yes, it's a domino effect. Here's you potentially having huge benefits on the amount of quality time you're going to get to spend with your growing daughter and your husband, and improving your career and the people you're going to meet and your salary and your holidays. And as you said, because you've been able to hopefully get to university and get that qualification, because you've been able to do the study, because you fit in that Friday night English equivalency test, because you could talk about sobriety, because you quit drinking 3.5 years ago. I just, it can feel
it's full circle,
yeah,
isn't it?
But it's wonderful because we get these little reminders that just confirm, do you know what? That might not have happened if you were still drinking. Can't be sure, but one thing is certain, that the benefits just keep growing, new benefits themselves, and it's just such a positive cyclical experience to be on. You know, sometimes days will go by where I don't think about my sobriety journey or alcohol, or nothing gets, I don't see anything in the press or nothing makes me think about it. But then maybe, in one day I might read 3 different articles, overhear an interesting conversation. I'm like, oh yeah, actually I'm on this great journey. And it's just the best thing.
I think if you looked at it metaphorically, it would be that you plant that tree seeds when you start your sobriety, and it's really got to push through that first, it's hard to get started, isn't it? And you can't see it ever. And that trunk, for me, represents all of those key kind of benefits. So health definitely has to be that tree trunk, doesn't it, really? That clarity in mind. Those things that you basically have all of the time, the being able to drive back from wherever, that represents the the trunk, and that's there all of the time. And then these branches just keep coming off, and the little saplings, and you almost do go through the seasons with it. Each time it just keeps getting more, and I do think, and like you say, I can't be for sure, but I am more or less certain that I would not be at uni now if I wasn't sober. I really don't think that I would be, and I didn't actually know that if I graduate, that I would graduate at Worcester Cathedral. I was explaining to my husband, and he said, "Oh my gosh, imagine if you do." I keep going if, but if I did stand there with my cap and gown, he said Molly would be year 8. He said, and just imagine the inspiration. I can't get through it actually, so I'm going to cry.
Aww.
Just imagine the inspiration that she would have at that age, babe. And I was like, don't.
Oh.
She's going to cry.
But it's true.
That's my aim. Obviously, the main umbrella aim is to be able to have a teaching career. But all of this is also benefits of it, isn't it, really?
Yeah, all of it's linked. I love your idea of sobriety being like a living organism, like a tree, and it just keeps growing and strengthening over time, and as you say, all the benefits popping up here and there in ways that you could never even have planned or thought. No, and as they come along and they happen, I love that we're able to sort of document that with each other and on a podcast like this. Listen, Claire, what if somebody is listening to this and thinks, do you know what, I've been toying with the idea of going back to education. What if this chance conversation inspires someone to do something that they've been putting off or maybe didn't have the confidence to go for? Like you said, it's just these beautiful little tendrils, these little tentacles that reach out and spread in a positive way. And I think in a world like this, when you look at the blooming news and everything going on, it's just so refreshing to know that there's an organic, real creature.
It's taking control as well. Taking control of your life. And, that strategy really helps. I've only got sort of 4 points, but just my third one, which I wanted to say, was obviously health. But when I talk about health, I also mean, in one of the books that I read, it was talking about you only ever 80% okay when you're drinking, because you wake up in the morning and you can never give 100%. I think if we're really honest with each other, and anybody that's listening to this now, you are only ever a maximum of 80%. That 20% is recovery. It sure is recovery. And now I feel like there's no guilt really, because whether it's work, whether it's uni, whether it's home, whether it's family, I can say to myself, I've given 100% to that. And that's as much as I can do. And you know what? That's why I always put a caveat with uni, because if it doesn't work, I can say to myself, I've done 100% effort. If I don't cut it, that's okay, because I can't be going, if I only stopped drinking, I might have done better. There's not that there anymore.
Yes.
And I think that is a massive, something taken off my shoulders, I feel like that's gone now. So I haven't got that to battle with, as well as having life that I've got, education challenge and work challenge and all of those things. I'm so grateful. But it can be challenges. But now I'm doing it 100% rather than 80%. And at least I can do that thinking, well, if things don't work out, do you know what? I've given it my best.
Yeah, because we only have one life, Claire. That's the thing. We don't know how long we're here. We don't know, at what stage we're going to look back and wish we'd done things or tried harder or sorted a few things out. And I think when you've got full clarity and you feel as though you're in the driving seat and got 100% effort into everything that you're doing, and you're not always questioning and doubting and regretting, what could or should have happened because of alcohol, then it means you rest easy with your decisions, don't you? Even if they're not quite the right decision, or things don't lead you quite where you thought you were going to go, you can have that peace of mind of thinking, do you know what? I did what I thought was right and what I've tried my very best to do. This has been my aim. I stick by it, and that's the way it's gone. And hopefully things lead on to what we're trying to get to. But I'm just really aware of that we're not here all that long. And I just don't think we've got time to mess about and ruin things and lose hours a day by drinking and losing our memory and jeopardizing our health and missing out on opportunities when we realize we can turn that round and just gain so much. I think we've talked about that, not to get all too deep and philosophical, but that, at the end of your days, you'd like to be able to turn around and think, do you know what? I really tried my very best and I gave it my all, and it wasn't with alcohol sabotaging every single night and ruining and making me miss things, and I think that's nice peace in your mind and your heart to be able to have at the end of each day, isn't it?
Totally, and leads on so nicely to my last point, which is, and I have in a way stolen it from you, Jane, because honestly, when I listened to your Fast Fizz, which is why I've listened to it a few times, I was in tears at the end, because you spoke about the relationship with yourself. The most important relationship you will ever have is with yourself.
Yes.
I absolutely loved that. And I think that is so key through every part of your sobriety journey. Because although it's absolutely essential to have support, me, you and Ruth have had each other, which has been definitely key. But ultimately, I could fall off the wagon tomorrow, couldn't I? But that would be down to me. I started my sobriety journey. That was down to me. I've stayed on this sobriety journey. That's been down to me. It hasn't been anybody else's decisions. It's been my decisions, exactly the same for yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't think that anything can happen without that internal voice going, do you know what? You don't feel so great. Do you know what? You keep not feeling so great. Do you know what? That internal voice starts resonating with conscious you. I actually don't think that you can start sobriety or start an improvement. I don't think anybody can really start any kind of journey, whether that is, let's say, going to a new job, starting in education, whatever it is. I don't think until you've got that relationship honed in with yourself, and I think it's work in progress as well. Honestly say, these last 3 years, that internal voice, because I have reaped so many benefits from listening to it, is louder, for sure.
I used to hate that voice though, Claire, because she was right. She was there going, you're pickling your liver, you drank again, what are you doing? You've clearly got a problem, you can't carry on like this. And that constant internal dialogue. But as you say, you've got to be your own person. You can wrap your identity up in your kids, like I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm an employee, and you can wrap yourself up in all of that. But the kids are going to move out and travel and explore the world. Your partner might not be with you for the rest of your days. Your job can come and go. And guess what's the one thing that's constant through all of that is you're still you, and you still have to look out for you and make the best decisions for you. And you do have to be a little bit selfish so that all those things around you get the best version of you as well.
Even that, just going back to that first point of that voice not being so great, that's not a bad thing, is it?
No, well, not now.
Okay, I can imagine. I had exactly the same voice, really. Guilt and that, oh God, especially if you've been out and had a drink and then you've got to face those people again, and oh God, and all of that. But as we've said before, arguably without that voice, we wouldn't be sober, would we, either?
Yeah, and that voice turns friendly. That voice is now the one that congratulates yourself and that says, why don't we go for a walk? And, hey, maybe choose a healthy option here. And, hey, you've done a really good job there. You've worked hard today. That voice becomes so much nicer when you know that you're not risking your life every night drowning in alcohol.
Exactly. Talking about that internal voice, what it says to me now is just because, there's a level of expectations that everybody else has on me, maybe not, I don't have it, and I've got that confidence now to go, actually, my internal voice is saying to me, and it's probably right, is that just because your expectations of me are X, I'm all right with Y, thank you very much. It's all of that, isn't it? It's having that confidence. It's having those difficult conversations with clarity that we all have to have. It's huge, I think. The relationship that you have with yourself is really, really huge. And I have to say, when I listened to your Fast Fizz, so if anybody hasn't listened to it yet, it's definitely one to listen to. I was like, yeah, in tears, really.
And as you say, it's a journey. We're works in progress and nobody's perfect, but it's just so lovely. I'll never get bored of talking about these things. And listen, before we forget and just before we wrap up, let me put it on record. Huge good luck to you. I really, really hope that, when are you going to find out what's coming next?
So the situation is at the moment is trying to register and trying to enrol is difficult. So that's probably why I'm a little bit hesitant when I talk about it, because I'm not fully enrolled yet, which is a different story because it's mainly admin. But I'm still going and I'm still turning up and I'm, shadowing some lessons, which is brilliant. So I actually did about 10 minutes of a lesson yesterday in front of a group of 16 to 18-year-olds, which is not it's very, my life consists of menopausal women mainly in my profession, which obviously I can relate to very, very well, and 7 to 12-year-olds. So my audience is not those, and I can tell you that that's the biggest challenge really for me, pitching it right for them, to know them. So that's kind of where I'm at really.
I'm smiling because it's so lovely when you do get to throw yourself into something you're really passionate about, and I'm really happy for you and congratulations on really following your dreams and making this happen. You've done that for you and I think that's really commendable.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to Fizz Free from your hosts Claire and Jane. Find us online on Facebook, YouTube, on X and Instagram, as well as most major streaming platforms. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, the email is fizzfree0, the number 0, @gmail.com. Don't forget to rate us and to give us a like and a share to spread the word. Changing your relationship with alcohol. Less fizz, more free.